Gentlemen, we're going to start with a warm-up. Just about everybody's been here, so we'll start with the warm-up. The only you're going deep half guard reversal to two different head and arm chokes. Okay, so warm-up, and then we'll change the pattern on how they potentially recover, move, like issues you encounter when you're doing it. So you ended up a couple of little things, right? You're starting with 2 feet on one kneecap. Because potentially you want to be able to like sequence to like good things in case he's most likely going to pick this leg up. And if he picks this leg up, you can bring it to you and start attacking it. But what's going to happen is we're paying attention to this arm. This one I don't care about too much. What I care about is dropping my foot behind his ankle. So when I move him forward in any manner, I drop my ankle behind him. I also keep this kneecap super high up because I don't want him to step over this kneecap until I know that I can get to this hip. Once I know that, then I dive underneath. I also never want to dive underneath, obviously, if he has this underhook. So my elbow's super tight to my body, I'm controlling this. The reason for this control is that if he could potentially take this hand and now grab onto my jawline and drive forward, he's going to step over my kneecap, and now I got an issue where a big player potentially, he's just too big to get under, and now he flattens me out. So I don't want that to happen. So when we move him forward, we dropped our ankle to ankle. Now I'm in the position to drive this kneecap and come underneath. So there were 2 different head and arm chokes that we were going to do. This is basic BJJ 101. Everybody should know a deep half guard reversal. It should be part of your arsenal, right? So now as we bring him over, we said we'd have 2 positions that we care about as we're landing. My head position in front of his deltoid, so I slow his turn down. As we land, I'm blocking his kneecaps to step over. When we step over, my hand is stuck underneath him. I'm in a good position to transfer to the side, but because I'm holding the shoulder line, I'm going to drive up super high up and get my head to the mat on this side so I get him supine on his back. I also go for his jawline because I want to control his jaw just like he wanted to control mine. So my first reaction is to dive under his jaw so that I have control of his face and I limit his movements. Now I drive forward and base my head on the mat so that I can pull my hand out. Once I pull my hand out, I secure his hip lines, I drive back down, and I start my vertical climb with his elbow. Keep your elbow tight to your body. He desperately wants his elbow back. So if he bridges, turn your elbow in. Do not let his elbow out. When you start your vertical climb, if you are really into paying attention to details, you're hitting the top deltoid muscle. Think of this vertical climb in a counterclockwise way or a clockwise way, depending on the sitting position you're in. When you are driving this up, don't try to take real estate when he's bucking, meaning don't try to advance your position if he's bucking in the air. Control the position and stay in whatever position you have. If you get the elbow to this point and he moves around, you don't take more real estate. If you get the elbow to this point, he moves around, you don't take more real estate. Also now, don't leverage your body on this side of his ear because you have control of his jaw. If you bring your body to this side, I have no base on that side. So there's a danger of me getting reversed. Happens in every class. If you sit with me, I'll go, there it goes. Because in every class, somebody gets reversed off of a mount. Someday, if Coco's here, I don't know if Coco's here. Coco literally does it like 3. It's almost to the point where Jason Perez was doing that roll, and I was like, man, if you get rolled on that thing, you have an issue. Coco reverses everybody off of it. So if he's here, I don't know if he's here, but he lets people mount and reverses. But people get reversed because they get to this point, and now they try to do this, and now my head is on this side. So then he bucks you over, and now you're sitting here like this. He makes a living on that reversal. So now when you're in here, I never go to that side. I keep my plank out far. So now I'm just driving to this point. You see me on this side. The reason I'm so leveraged also on this side is that if I get reversed, I can slide my hand out to rebase. I'd rather lose the elbow than get reversed, okay? So when you get to this point, I make my first wedge. I retract super low on my ear line. Now I drop my hip, butterfly over, cock my leg up, and now drive up into this artery. That is number one. Let's do the number two kill. Right? So that's number one. Same thing. Only thing he's going to go to do is turtle. So you owe me both sides. Right? So on this one, the only thing different is I missed the blocker on the top shoulder. So he's going to continue the rotation. So everything remained the same. As I brought him up, he's already turning. I'm too late on getting up on this hip. So I slide to his kneecap and I pull his hip lines out. So as I land his hip lines, I maintain the position behind the deltoid with my head. I'm like this. My only concern now, I don't care about anything else except this hand. This hand getting to that collar. After that, I can play the game many different ways. So when I land him like this, I slide my hand through. The next thing that matters to me is that I get in front of his knee lines. So right away, I take this outside leg and I get in position in front of him. Now, if he's turned a lot, it's okay also. I will slip out the back and take his back this way. But because I'm holding this position, I can drop my clavicle underneath his armpit and drive him flat. So at this point, I drive him flat. I proceed to do the same move on the other side. I drop my hips, I've never elevated them. I butterfly over, I cock my back leg, and I drive up into the artery. You have two positions you're doing it on both sides. You have to be good at deep half guard reversals from both sides. Sometimes passing you don't. You can marry a smash with like a sprawl on the other side. You can mix, but in deep half guard reversal, you don't know how you're playing the game. So you also have to be able to head and arm choke from both sides. Okay, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. There's some things I want you to pay attention to. Can I have you mounted? So we're gonna do two moves, okay? So when you dismount on this person, you have them really great, okay? Just a couple of little tidbits, right? Try your best to start your ear somewhere underneath his armpit, because, right, when you end up getting this leg ready to drive into him, if you start up here, your ear is gonna end up here. So this is what I mean by it. It's like, I'm like this, and my ear's so high up, and now I drop my hip, and I land on this side. Now when I go cock my leg and I drive, I'm all the way up there. What I really want to do is collect bone and flesh down here, but that starts because my ear's so low, and then when I start driving with this leg, it starts to get here, and that's how I get this bone and flesh up into that artery. So start your position super low. Number two is, I know that you think that this leg doesn't matter too much. I know. You go, I can get him and stuff, but one of his escapes that you're going to have a hard time preventing is that he loops his hand under my belly, okay? And when that happens, the only thing that I can do, right, is really plank myself so tight under here. And then when you see this kneecap, what I'm trying to do is drive that kneecap under this hip, because I don't want him turning. And now, when I dismount, you have to turn his hip this way with that instep down here, because this is what's going to happen. I'm like this, and I finally got this position. I lowered my ear, and Nathan's already snaking the hand underneath. I can't do anything about it. And now, if I don't do that, right, I keep a gap here, and I start doing this. And now Nathan's already turning with me, and I lost the artery on the top. So I lost that artery, right? So I don't want that to occur. So when this wedge comes underneath, this leg pummels to this side to hook under to turn his hip this way. As I get to the position of recocking the leg to drive into the artery. So that right there has really important conscious contact in how you force his hip the other way. So when you see me land like this, I'm like this. I wedged under his hip. Now when Nathan goes to turn, I'm here driving him back so that he, So I'm driving him back so that I don't let this turn, because I want to collect this, okay? So just practice it, okay? Number two is, he's going to do the escape, and I can't do anything about it. So my hand positions, they were like this. The bottom one is going to grab the elbow, the top one is going to grab the head, and then I'm going to reread what's occurring. We're going to say that the person gives me the armpit, because he was already laced underneath, and that's what I mean by it now. I'm like this at this point. I've done everything right. I've come this way, and now, but Nathan's already turned. I'm going, oh, darn, I can't do anything about this. Me and him are stuck, but I can't put him away. So I retract back to grab. Pay attention to a couple of small little details. I don't know how the game is playing yet, but I'm in a good position to hold this person because no matter what, this hand's always going to be able to grab this elbow because of the position I was in. I was like this. So when I retracted this hand, it just laced underneath. Number two is my foot position was under here, but I couldn't stop him turning. But my knee position is at the hip line, preventing the turn. I am also holding the elbow line. So I have a cross-body pin mechanically that he has a difficult time moving, okay? Now we can play this game and see how it pairs out. In this one, his hand was already here. So I was like this at this point because he can. So I'm gonna loop this position back inside, and now I'm in a straight up Dars, right? Because he turned on me, but I felt the hand come under the belly, and I was like, damn, he's turning too much now. So when he turns too much, I don't want to lose the dominant position. I'm in a great spot to loop the head, and if it's competition, I'm like this. I'm just gonna drive it back and then flip the hip, and now start mounting again and collect another 4 points, right? So you can accumulate points. I think that they stopped capping it out around 30 something. So you can keep accumulating, right? But now we do everything exactly the same, okay? So try to pay attention to that back, because if a guy understands his escapes and he loops that hand and he's tall, there's nothing you could do about it, because Ethan's not that much taller than me, but if there's a really tall guy, he's gonna loop his hand all the way to this lat, and I can't do anything about it. And I'm like, damn, he got underneath me, and he's powerful, and he's trying to loop on me. So I'm like this, don't go anywhere yet. So I drop like this, I got my wedge. When I butterfly this guy over, I'm trying to push this hip away so that he can't loop into me, right? So now I cock this leg and I drive up into this artery. But this time Ethan does. He moves, so I retract back, and I grab head and arm, okay? One critical thing is that you saw my kneecap get underneath me. So now I'm athletic to play the game multiple ways. I'm not going to lose dominant position. So I'm on the skull line. I'm on the elbow line. I can drive him back and replay the game, but he already gave me the looping hand underneath. So at this point, I loop back underneath his arm. So now as I punch it through, I see daylight on it. I go from bicep to bicep, and I finish the Dars. Let's do it, guys. 1, 2, 3.